Oi, gente. Hoje nós vamos ter um programa muito especial. Nós vamos falar sobre uma franquia estrangeira que está querendo vir para o Brasil, que eu conheci nos Estados Unidos. É a The Melting Pot. É um restaurante especializado em fondue. É uma experiência gastronômica que eu jamais tinha visto. Apesar de já ter conhecido no Brasil, que tem restaurantes do tipo de fondue, mas nada parecido com esses restaurantes. Ele tem equipamentos especiais, as receitas são maravilhosas, tem uma variedade, um menu fantástico e é mais uma dessas franquias que estão ganhando o mundo inteiro, o mercado mundial. Aliás, é muito interessante ver essas franquias olham o Brasil e veem um grande potencial do nosso mercado. E não é só o Brasil, você viaja à Europa, à Ásia, qualquer continente que você vá, essas grandes marcas, esses grandes conceitos, eles implantam os seus restaurantes. O The Melting Pot é um restaurante muito especial, é uma coisa espetacular que não tem nada igual no Brasil. É um investimento grande, porque é realmente algo diferenciado, é do tipo de restaurante que a gente fala casual dining, um restaurante para 300, 500 lugares, dependendo do imóvel, das reformas que você tem que fazer, nós estamos falando aí do investimento em torno de US$ 1 milhão. Mas vale a pena vocês assistirem o programa, entenderem como funciona esse conceito e quem sabe a gente possa ter franqueados que possam desenvolver isso no Brasil. Esse tipo de franquia, ele não quer um franqueado master que possa subfranquear no país. Eles não querem isso. Eles querem o que a gente chama de desenvolvedores de área, que são empresários que vão montar alguns restaurantes como esse. Começa por um que vai ser muito bem sucedido e depois você pode abrir outros restaurantes. O mundo está se transformando hoje numa rede global onde os melhores negócios se implantam em todos os países. Então, esses grandes conceitos, como The Melting Pot, vai vir para o Brasil, assim como entrou em diversos outros países do mundo. E assim como The Melting Pot tem diversos outros conceitos americanos, europeus, asiáticos, que realmente estão saindo, e até brasileiros também que saem daqui e vão para outros países, porque realmente o que importa é que quando o conceito ele se destaca, ele tem condição de crescer a nível internacional. Então vou deixar agora vocês se deliciarem com The Melting Pot, uma das franquias mais fantásticas de alimentação que a gente tem.
Hello, Brazil. My name is John Westland. I'm the International Franchise Business Manager for the Melting Pot Restaurants. I'd like to welcome you to the Melting Pot of Doha, our 120th store, just opened 3 days ago. So we're going to walk over and take a little bit of a tour of the restaurant, and then we'll sit down and have a little chat about the brand. So we'll walk this way. So for those of you not familiar with the Melting Pot brand, we've been around for 43 years. We opened in 1975 in Maitland, Florida. We're a fondue concept. We have focus on cheese fondue, our house-made salads, our entree fondue, and chocolate fondue. And as you'll see with the menus inside, this is the first restaurant in the world to start offering breakfast as well as some other items, definitely focusing on cheese and focusing on dipping and things like that. So come on, we'll walk up to the patio and we'll start there. Okay, so as you'll see outside, this is the patio. All of the tables, and we'll speak a little bit more when we get inside, but one of the things you're going to notice about the tables is that every table has burners on it. These are induction burners, so they're electric, they heat up very quickly, and that's how we do the fondue cooking right at the table. And this is something that's really nice, is that we're able to have the electricity out here so we can have the cooking, and there's a lot of guests that have really been enjoying the patio. Okay, and let's step inside and we'll give you a little tour of the inside of the Melting Pot restaurant. Thank you, Julia. So as you can see from the restaurant, the design of this restaurant specifically, we have high vaulted ceilings, a lot of woodwork. If we look over here on this wall, we actually have a little bit of tribute to the history of fondue, and you'll see a lot of the antique fondue pots up there. One of the things that's interesting about the brand is we are in the process of redesigning the look of our restaurant. And so all of our restaurants will have some of a similar look, but one of the things we want to make sure is that we also add in some of the local flavor of the market and of the culture into the restaurants as well. And when we work with a partner, we work with your local designer to really make sure that we keep the melting pot feel, but also bring the local feel of the culture in it as well. So if you look over here at, again, our tables, all of the tables have the burner on them. And when we get in the back, I'll talk a little bit about these. These are called roll-ups, and they contain our forks and our fondue pots. You'll also find in a lot of our restaurants, one of the features that we really like to do and that the guests enjoy are these circular booths. So as you can see here, we have a mixture of regular tables, we have a mixture of booths, we also have a mixture of heights in the restaurant as well. Okay, so now what we have over here is this is our beverage, cheese, and chocolate station. So the beverage area is where we make all of our beverages fresh. You'll see two of the drinks here that are just amazing. Part of the design incorporates fresh fruit. We want to let the guests know that we do make their food fresh right in front of their eyes. We've also added a retail station. And one of the things about the retail, you'll see that we sell our chocolate wafers. So if guests want to take the chocolate home to do fondue, they can. We also feature our chocolate dipped strawberries. And of course, in this restaurant, one of the great things is we have a chocolate fountain that circulates all three of the chocolate flavors that we feature here, our white chocolate, our dark chocolate, and our milk chocolate. So welcome to our chocolate station. As I mentioned, we feature three chocolates. We have our dark chocolate, our milk chocolate, and our white chocolate. As you can see, our chocolates are made fresh right in front of the guests. Typically on a melting pot menu, the store offers 6 to 8 different recipes. So they'll either use the white chocolate, the milk chocolate, or dark chocolate as a base. And from there, we'll add in things like peanut butter. We may add in things like Oreo cookies. There's Biscoff Lotus cookies that this particular store offers. So usually what we find is every store there's 3 or 4 core ingredients that they'll put in, but then we also allow the store to pick from recipes of dozens of recipes that they get to choose from that allows them to pick recipes that are the local culture would really embrace. I forgot to mention on the chocolate, one of the best parts, that along with your chocolate, you get an assortment of dippers, and these are what you dip into the chocolate. So we have on this particular board, we have brownies, we have blondies, we have Rice Krispies, banana, we have marshmallows. These ones are coated in Oreo, as well as Biscoff cookie, and of course fresh fruits to go along with that, strawberries, kiwi, pineapple, and bananas. And again, it's an amazing experience. And then this part of the area back here is called the cheese station. And this is where we make the cheese. So we've got a cooking station back here that melts the cheese. So we have a pot, and what will happen is this is called a liner. And in the liner, we're going to start with a liquid base. So depending on the recipes that we're using, here they're using a beer base, non-alcoholic beer for Qatar. So they have a non-alcoholic beer or a non-alcoholic wine. You can also do alcohol as well. They'll put that in the base, let it warm up, perhaps put some garlic, maybe some salsa to start with, and then we'll put the cheese in there, and it starts to melt down. And again, depending on the recipe, there's different ingredients that go into it. Once the cheese is complete, the runner will take it right out to the table, and just like we've talked about with the chocolate, there's an array of vegetables or fruit or breads that can be dipped into the cheese fondue. So again, in this particular case, the store's they have an assortment of cauliflower and broccoli, carrots. They use Granny Smith green apples, as well as local rustic breads. And as I mentioned, all the ingredients are fresh. So we have a little refrigerator back here that has the ingredients. So in this particular case, we've got artichokes and salsa and garlic. We've got an onion salsa for our French Gruyere. They use a roasted garlic, jalapenos, mozzarella, fresh spinach. So again, we have a group of core cheeses that every restaurant globally serves, but then we allow the franchise to pick which recipes from literally dozens recipes. They get to pick more that they believe will work in the market for them based on the cultural preferences and tastes. So what you're seeing here is the melting pot kitchen. Historically, we've done a lot of the cooking at the tables, but just most recently we started to add some things that expanded our menu. So what you'll see in the back here is we've got an area where they make salads, we have an area where they make some sandwiches. In the back, we've got a fryer, we've got a little grill, a couple of burners. We're using something called a combi oven, which is an amazing piece of technology that allows the cooks to serve a variety of different, from steaks to chickens, sandwiches can all be put into that unit, so it makes it very easy. And then back in the corner we have our dish area as well. So a nice little compact kitchen, but it's able to produce a tremendous amount of food in a very organized and efficient manner. And then the last feature of this particular restaurant is that they added a private dining room. And actually new to the brand, you'll notice that those tables are movable tables. So actually in the floor, there are outlets, and what it does is it allows us to move the configuration of these tables. So unlike some of the tables you saw out front that were permanently affixed to the floor, this is something we're just starting to add, which allows us to adjust the private room based on the configuration. And one other feature I do want to point out before we talk a little bit more about the brand is that in this particular restaurant we actually added the feature of the TV. So in the background you'll see the fireplace, but it's actually hooked up to the cell phone, and so we can change the background based on what the guest wants. If they want a fireplace to give a little ambiance to the room, or we can change this to a mountain scene, we can change it to a beach scene. So again, trying to use a little bit of technology to change the feeling in the room for the guest. So next I wanted to go through, I've been asked a couple of questions about the brand, so I want to take a couple of minutes and go through that and share with you a little bit of a history about the brand and a little bit about the concept. So the first question is, what does your concept have that nobody else has? I think the best thing I can say about that is that when it comes to fondue, nobody else does it the way that we do it. We are the only brand globally that has taken fondue to the next level and really brought fondue mainstream. There are certainly fondue restaurants around the world. You may have a market with one fondue restaurant here, one fondue restaurant there, or in Brazil particularly, we know that there are fondue restaurants, but they're typically only located up in the mountains and certainly only visited a certain time of the year. Melting Pot, on the other hand, we've been doing this for 43 years. We are around the world, and we're also in different climates. So, you know, we actually started our brand in a very warm climate in Florida, but you'll find our brand, as I said, in warm climates and cold climates, in desert climates such as here in Qatar or in the northern part of Canada. So I think that's the one thing that we have to offer, is we've been able to take fondue and make it mainstream. We also have an extensive menu, so I'd like to take a moment here and take you a little bit through the menu, just so you can kind of get an understanding of what it looks like. So this is the menu that we've developed here for Qatar. You know, in the beginning we've got a little bit of welcome to the melting pot with some photos. Some amazing drinks that they have developed here. Again, we've got some core drinks that we serve at the melting pot, such as our melting pot mule, or a yin yang, or a blackberry sage lemonade. But then we also allow the store to develop some of their own local recipes. So for example, this store developed a cotton candy coffee, as well as a mango passion fruit mojito. So they've got a wonderful drink list for the guests to choose from. As mentioned, we are famous for our cheese fondue. So over here, we have listings of all the different cheese recipes using the different bases. There's 3 different cheese bases that we use that are mixtures. But we have an American cheddar, a Mexican fiesta, an Italian quattro formaggio, spinach and artichoke, French Gruyere. They come with the dippers that we saw earlier of the vegetables and the breads and the fruit. We also have some new additions. So if a guest wants to perhaps dip some Parmesan truffle fries or satay skewers, which are skewers of beef and chicken and shrimp, to dip into their cheese, they can do that as well. We've got some fresh salads. This particular restaurant, we have a house salad, a Caesar salad, Something very local to the Qatari market is a kashkaval and halloumi salad that we developed with their local chefs. And of course, soup as well. They have a roasted mushroom soup. We've got some new sandwiches and shareables. And a lot of these are, again, based around the history of the melting pot and the history of fondue, because they feature our cheeses. So one of the highlights here right there is our grilled 4-cheese panini sandwich. You'll also see in this picture, and this is probably one of the most popular ones that we've seen so far, is a crispy stuffed mushroom, which is a mushroom that is dipped in our tempura batter and stuffed with our homemade house sauce, as well as our cheddar cheese. Then we move on to, again, some other options for shareables. We have the Parmesan truffle fries. We have again, featuring our cheese, we have a 6-cheese macaroni and a pesto chicken flatbread are some of the other highlights. From the traditional side of the business, we have our traditional fondue mains. And what that is at the table, as I mentioned before, there are induction burners. So what will happen is we bring out the broth that they can cook it in, either a vegetable broth or perhaps a mojo, which is a Caribbean style, which has orange juice and lime juice, cilantro and garlic. And inside the pot, they would turn on the burner, it would warm up, and then out to the table, the guest gets to choose what types of meats or vegetables they want to cook in the pot for their entree. Those meats and vegetables come out unprepared, and the guest will then actually cook it right here at the table. And then when they're done cooking, and they use their fondue forks, so they would take their fondue fork, they would put it in there. So they would take their unprepared meat or their vegetables, they cook it in here, and we'll coach them on how long to cook it for, and then when they're done, they'd have a variety of different sauces that they can dip it in. So these are traditional fondue mains. One new exciting one is the grilled cooking style. So instead of a pot here, we actually have a cast iron grill. Again, the meats or vegetables come out unprepared, and the guests can actually do grilling at the table, and once again, dip it into the sauces when they're done. We've also found that there are some guests that, at least for their entree, they would prefer to have us do the cooking. So what we've done is we've created a handful of chef-prepared mains. So oftentimes maybe we'll see a family where half of the family wants to do the traditional cooking in the pot, and perhaps the other part of the family wants to do some chef-prepareds. So we have things like a Memphis barbecue chicken. We have a crunchy baked salmon, which has proved to be wildly popular in this market, or perhaps a Cajun blackened prawns for their suggestions. The other thing, by the way, just to also highlight, is in this particular part of the world, we also do our menus in dual languages. So we have the English on the one side and the Arabic on the other, and that's certainly something that we could do for the Brazil market or any other market as well if necessary. Okay, and on this page, as we talked earlier, we've got our chocolate fondues. We have our milk chocolate, our dark chocolate, and our white chocolate. And to that, we add different ingredients. This one is actually our yin yang, so it's actually a mixture of our dark chocolate and our white chocolate. But as mentioned, we also have the original, and that's where they have a peanut butter added to it. We have a caramel pecan, where caramel and candied pecans are added to it. A cookie butter that uses the Lotus Biscoff cookies, and in this particular market, pistachio is a flavor that the locals really enjoy. So we have our pistachio chocolate. We've also got something our chef just developed, which is a Nutella cookie sundae. So we actually have a smaller pot, and inside we take cookie crumbles, and we have ice cream and caramel and chocolate that goes on to that. And of course, one of the things we like to promote, as you saw earlier, are the chocolate dipped strawberries. And then if the guest wants to wrap it all up, we have something called our big night out. And what it does is it allows guests to have a little bit of some of our most popular items. So it starts them out, and it's designed for 2 people. It starts them out where they have, they're sharing our American cheddar cheese in this particular case, so they'll get cheese for 2 people that comes out. Then they have a salad that's designed for 2 people that they share. We have our traditional fondue main. So again, the pot would come out, they pick a cooking style, the grill or the mojo, and then it has a selection of our most popular meats and vegetables that go onto that, and of course wraps them up with probably one of our most popular chocolates, is the salted caramel, so they can do the big night out. So as you can see from the menu, we really want to have a menu that's diverse, that is really mainstream, and allows guests to not just do special occasions, but to come and visit the restaurant anytime when they just have that passion or that desire for some great fondue. Now the next question is what type of investors are you looking for? So from an investment standpoint, what we're looking for is we want investors that certainly have experience in food. We're looking for investors that already have an infrastructure built. They're looking to perhaps have a portfolio of restaurants or restaurant experience, and they're looking to expand. We want somebody who has an infrastructure that already has perhaps channels of distribution built, or are very familiar with channels of distribution, as well as a lot of experience in marketing to the Brazilian market. What we're able to do from our end is we provide a lot of the photos, a lot of the marketing, but then we like to work with the groups that have experience in how do you take that information and then turn it around and market it to the local culture. And of course, I think one of the most important things is we're looking for investors that have a passion for something unique. So they're looking for something beyond perhaps just another burger place or another steak restaurant. They want something that's incredibly unique. They recognize that it has the ability to really grow in the market, and they have that passion for being deeply involved in the restaurant. The next question is what attracts us to Brazil? I think the first thing that really attracts us to Brazil, because we were part of a trade mission there last year, and as we toured the market, of course we asked everybody about fondue, and one of the things we found most exciting is that there's a deep knowledge of fondue. People are already aware of fondue, they know what it consists of, and quite honestly, the biggest thing we heard is they wish that it was more available to them other than just up in the mountains at a certain time of the year. And we believe that the melting pot can bring that to the market. We also know that Brazil has a high passion for cheese, as well as a high passion for chocolate. We love the culture of Brazil. As you can see, fondue is one of those dining experiences where everybody comes together around the pot. So perhaps where you see at other restaurants where everybody is just focused on their phone and nobody's really talking. What we see when we look at our guests in melting pots is they put those phones away, they start talking to each other, they talk about their celebration for food, their celebration for life, about their friendships. So we have people that come in and they'll celebrate anniversaries. We have people that actually get engaged in our restaurant sometimes. But we also see people that will celebrate somebody's birthday. But then we also have people that just say, I just want to go to a place that has an environment that brings people together. And so when we look at the culture of Brazil, we know that culture really embraces family, and so we want to bring our fondue concept to Brazil for that. We also look, as we look around, that there is a big passion for communal dining, and certainly fondue is communal dining at its best. And as I mentioned, it is also a market that just has a passion for love, it has a passion for friendship, it has a passion for food, and I think you can see that fondue embraces all of those. Okay, and the last question that I was asked is about the level of investment. So typically the way that it works for our international deals is that we will do development deals by country or perhaps region of the country, depending on how big it is. So we have a minimum of 3-store commitment, typically done over maybe 3.5 years that those stores will be built. And our fee structure ranges based on how many stores a particular franchise partner commits to. So for example, if a franchise partner decides to commit to 3 to 4 stores, the franchise fee would be $60,000 US per store. If they commit to 5 or 6 stores, it's $50,000 US per store. And if they commit to 7 or more stores, it drops to $45,000 US. Then there's also a one-time training fee of $50,000 US. And the $50,000, what that covers is that before the store is opened, they will send a management team to the US to train for 6 weeks. So what that $50,000, it helps cover the cost of that class for the 6 weeks. And then there's also the first 2 openings. We send a training team that comes in typically about 12 days before the opening, and we conduct training. So typically 8 to 9 people come from the U.S. They come in, help do the training all the way to opening, and then they stay for a time period after to make sure that all the operations are going. So we actually send training teams for the first 2 openings, as well as the training in Florida at our home office, and that's what the $50,000 covers. As far as the investment for the actual store, in the U.S., our typical range to build a store, like you've seen, is anywhere from $1 million to $1.5 million U.S. However, on the international side of it, we know that can vary greatly based on, of course, the size of the location, which internationally we typically might go a little bit smaller. This restaurant that you've seen is about 500 square meters, but I actually just came from another opening in Mexico here, and that particular store was only 300 square meters because of that particular location. So that really varies. It depends on the size of the store, and of course it depends on raw material costs to build a restaurant, and it depends on the labor that it takes to build a restaurant. So again, our gauge in the U.S. is anywhere from 1 to 1.5 million, but on the international scene, that could vary greatly. And typically, an investor that we're looking for has had experience building restaurants in the market and would have a good understanding of what the true investment level might be. A couple other things I want to talk about are as far as the products go. One of the things that our chef has done is he's really designed the menu so that we have a limited amount of importing that the store has to do. In fact, it's really to the point now on the food side of it that the only product that really we would prefer to be imported is our cheese. And the reason being is that the cheese company that we work with is a small company out of Wisconsin in the U.S. We've had a long-standing relationship with them. They make cheese that is very specifically designed for fondue, and in fact, they produce such a high quality of cheese that in 2016, this company won the World Cheese Competition. So that gives you an idea of the quality of cheese that they are producing. Now, if it's a particular market in Brazil that we find that it's impossible to import the cheese, then what we will do is work with the local market to find local cheeses as well. But as you can imagine, our preference is to, of course, import the cheese because of our knowledge of the cheese and the quality of it. Other than that, typically in a restaurant build, we give the store specs of what equipment to purchase, so they're all able to get that locally. There's only a few items that need to be imported. One of them is our pots, as you'll see here. These are specifically designed for the melting pot, as well as the liners that go in them. And then, as I mentioned earlier, these are what we call the roll-ups. This is what contains the silverware. Specifically, these are custom designed forks that need to be imported, as well as this little device here, which is called a ramolator. At the Melting Pot, we're very focused on safety, and so this is something that allows us to transport very safely our cooking style back and forth to the table because it's a hot liquid in here, and so it allows us to do that safely. So again, just a few items that we would like to have imported from the rest, but again, for everything else on the menu, our chef will come to the market, work with the local group, work with local purveyors, and find ingredients locally that allows us to produce the extensive menu that we have. Speaking of menu, one of the things I did forget to mention earlier is that we have actually just started, this is the first restaurant in the world, because we wanted to extend our offerings to guests during the day. So this is the first restaurant in the world that has added a new breakfast menu. So again, some amazing offerings. We've got perhaps a Barry's French toast you can see that has topped with ice cream and cotton candy. They have a Mediterranean breakfast, this part of the world. So they have some things on there like falafel and halloumi that are very popular in this part of the world. Some sliders. We have pancakes. We've got egg and tomato croissant. So a lot of breakfast items as well, and this has really opened up new opportunities for the brand And then, of course, some wonderful drinks to accompany that as well on the back. So just to wrap it up, some key points about the brand. We really wanted to highlight the fact that we believe, once again, that there's a passion and a demand for fondue in Brazil. Up until this point, it's really been limited to perhaps geographic locations, and we believe that the melting pot can make fondue more mainstream and offer it to guests all around the country. We're a brand that offers our partners the ability to have limited importing, so they don't have to worry about containers and shipments and all of that. They're allowed to source all of their ingredients locally. We're a brand that's been around for 43 years. We've got a lot of history, a lot of learnings, and as you can see, we're still continuing evolving the brand and looking for new ways to bring the guests more opportunity and more ways to dine with fondue. And of course, for our franchise partners, more ways to drive sales, which we know is, of course, incredibly important. We've been to the market. We've spent time in Brazil. We've looked at the culture, and we believe that the culture is very well suited for the type of communal dining style that the melting pot is. And we really look forward to, hopefully very soon, coming to the market, finding that right partner who has the infrastructure, has the experience, and most importantly has the passion for a concept like fondue. And working together, we can spread fondue all throughout Brazil. So we look forward to hearing from you, and thank you for your time today. Goodbye, Brazil.
Vocês viram The Melting Pot, entenderam como funciona essa franquia. Quem tiver qualquer interesse em trazer para o Brasil, entre em contato com a Global Franchise através do nosso site ou do e-mail contato@globalfranchise.com.br. Estamos à disposição para passar mais informações. E esse é mais um programa do Papo de Negócio e Franquia. Até a próxima oportunidade.